This is my project on Bill Russell. In the upper right hand corner, you have a picture of Russell playing on USF. Uh, on the upper left hand corner, you have an older picture of Bill Russell. In the center, you have Bill Russell when he played on the Celtics, and you have him sitting there with all of his championship rings on. The picture you see up here, Bill was probably around 8 or 9. William Felton Russell was born on February 12th, 1934 in Monroe, Louisiana. Bill Russell's parents are Charles Russell and Katie Russell. He also had a brother named Charlie Russell. His brother is an author and wrote books like The Worthy Ones and Five on the Black Hand Side. When they lived in Monroe, Russell's family struggled with segregation and racism, even going as far as having a police officer stop Russell's mother, demanding her to go home and change her dress because she was wearing a white woman's dress. His father, shortly after that, went to Oakland, California to find a job, and he found a job as a truck driver. And once he had stability, he moved Russell and the family out there. But they quickly fell back into poverty, moving in and out of public housing projects. And at the age of 12, Bill Russell lost his mother. Russell was very close to his mom because his dad was always out truck driving, so he wasn't home all the time. And Russell wasn't always the best at basketball. Though athletic, he got cut from his middle school team. In the upper right-hand corner, you have a picture of Bill Russell in high school with his 7'4" wingspan, holding 2 basketballs in each hand. After not making the cut in middle school, he tried again when he reached high school for the varsity team in McClymonds. The coach almost cut him, but he saw his potential, so he kept him on the team. And Russell was known for his unusual style of defense. He later on stated, to play good defense, it was told back then you had to stay flat-footed at all times to react quickly. When I started to jump to make defensive plays and block shots, I was initially corrected, but I stuck with it, and it paid off. Bill would go home, and he would study other players' moves in the mirror so he could defend and block their shots and just be an absolute beast on the defensive side. And Russell received an offer to play at USF, and he eagerly accepted. Russell played for 3 years at USF, from spanning 1953 to 1956. They are in the West Coast Conference, a group of college athletic programs within the same region. He won back-to-back NCAA tournaments, and he also won 55 games in a row. NCAA meaning governing body for most college and university athletic programs. In the 3 seasons that he played there at USF, their record was 71-8. And his record in the NCAA tournament was undefeated, 9-0. Russell was just one of 5 NCAA Division I men's basketball players to average 20 points and 20 rebounds per game. Unfortunately, defensive stats were not recorded until 1973 to 1974. I'm going to list you off some of the awards Bill Russell won during his college years. He won 1955 Consensus First Team All-American, 1955 West Regional Team, 1955 Final Four Most Outstanding Player, 1955 All-Tournament Team, 1956 Consensus First Team All-American, 1956 Far West Regional Team, 1956 All-Tournament Team, 1950s All-Decade Team, and he was named top 15 players in NCAA tournament history. Bill also came in at a whopping 215 pounds, and he was 6'9" in college. Fresh out of college, Bill Russell was assigned to the 1956 Olympics men's basketball team, and they won gold. The team consisted of college friend and later on Celtic teammate Casey Jones, Bill himself, Jim Walsh, Robert Grad, and Ron Darling. The Olympics were in Melbourne, Australia, which marks the first time Bill Russell has ever left the United States. And U.S. won gold with a record of 8-0, and they beat the Soviet Union in the Cold War era. And here I have a picture of them all there. You can see Bill Russell in the back and Casey Jones After spending half his year playing for the Olympic team, he came back and with legendary Celtics players like Casey Jones and Tommy Heinsohn already on the team. Bill averaged 14.7 points per game and 19.6 rebounds per game. The Celtics went 44-28, clinching first place in the Eastern Conference. And Bill led them to the Eastern Conference Finals, where they swept the Syracuse Nationals, who beat them last year to go on and play in the finals. The Celtics pull off a nail-biter Game 7 to win their first NBA title against the St. Louis Hawks, their first of 18. And I have a little video clip here for you.
April 13, 1957. After 11 years, the Boston Celtics were finally in a position to win their first NBA championship. Rookie of the Year, Tommy Heinsohn found the range early on. But with less than a minute on the clock, Russell rolled left for a short hook to give Boston a lead, then miraculously raced down court to block Jack Coleman's layup.
It's all over! It's over! It's over! People have poured out onto the floor. The Celtics are the world champions.
In year 2, Russell won his first MVP of his career, his first of 5. He led the team to a 49-23 record. He went all the way back to the finals, looking for the repeat, but he suffered a foot injury. Without their big, the Celtics were squashed by the team they had beat last year, the St. Louis Hawks. And they didn't really stand a chance because they lost Bill Russell and they had nobody playing in the paint. They had nobody blocking shots left and right. And down here, there's an image of Red Auerbach and Bill Russell sharing a laugh. I guess you could call this his revenge year. He came back the next year and he averaged 16.7 points per game and 23 rebounds per game, which led him to his second All-Star game appearance. And he led the team to a record at the time, 52 wins that season. He breezed past the other teams in the Eastern Conference, and he faced the Minnesota Lakers, who eventually became the Los Angeles Lakers, in the finals for the first time. The Celtics and the Lakers have a very, very storied rivalry in the NBA. And Bob Cousy and Bill brought out the brooms for the Lakers. They swept them in 4 games. And here's a picture of the Celtics down there, the squad that won in 1958, 1959. Brad Auerbach down there. You have Casey Jones, Bill Russell, Tommy Heinsohn. You got Bob Cousy over there. Bill would go on to win 8 consecutive championships, including the season before. 8 consecutive championships. That is the best record in NBA history, and it will never be touched again. I can promise you that. He also would go on to win 2 more in 1968 and 1969. He also won more gold medals for USA. One in 1960 and one in 1964. He was the first black coach in NBA history, which was very big at this time because this was smack dab during the Civil Rights Movement. And as you should know, Bill Russell is a very big civil rights activist. Bill Russell also befriended white players and coaches during these segregated times. He even went as far as to write a book about his coach, Red Auerbach, titled Me and Red. It's about his friendship on and off the court and how he became a lifelong friend of Bill Russell. He is a 5-time MVP winner, and he retired in 1969. After his career, Russell served as head coach and general manager of the Seattle Supersonics from 1973 to 1979. Also, he was a broadcaster on ABC. While on the road, teammates of Russell's recall a time where he received the key to the city of Marion, Indiana. He was very happy that he did. After Russell was denied service at a hotel, he drove to the mayor's house in the middle of the night, woke him up, and returned the key. He was upset and felt that the key to the city was a meaningless honor in the light of the discrimination he experienced. He returned the key to the mayor as a symbolic act of defiance and to highlight the hypocrisy of the situation. Russell was also invited to join MLK on the stage during his monumental I Have a Dream speech. He declined, not wanting to drive the message. He also feels as though he didn't do as much as Martin Luther King Jr. did for the civil rights movement.
You know, I was here when Martin Luther King made that speech. I was in the audience. That seemed like so long ago. For us that were deeply involved, the changes were very slow. It's like walking down the street, one step at a time. I had met him at the March on Washington. In fact, I was invited to go on the stage, but I respectfully declined. My father used to tell me, for survival, black men had to understand white men to survive. But it was not true the other way around. And so you have to make your own way. What I tried to do was support all these guys.
After returning from a long road stand, he returned to his home in Boston, and he found that someone had broken into his house, wrote slurs on his walls, and ransacked his home. This was absolutely devastating to Russell. During games, he would be called slurs, told to go back to Africa, and white fans would even go as far as to threaten his and his children's life. Even if he was playing good, by the way, they just did that to him. In 1966, Bill Russell wrote a book called Go Up for Glory, which depicted a battle of racial injustice, not just on the basketball court. He really went in depth of how he was treated as a child, even bringing up one time when him and his brother were outside tossing rocks in their old Monroe, Louisiana home. He accidentally hit a white person's car. The white person chased him down all the way home and told them that he was going to bring the KKK to kill them. And they told their father, and their father waited there with the shotgun, but luckily, nothing happened. In 1967, Russell joined fellow NBA player Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, NFL star Jim Brown, and many other black athletes at the Cleveland Summit to support Muhammad Ali's decision not to join the Vietnam War. This marked the first time where professional athletes talked about something other than sports, and in this instance, they used their image to talk about social injustice and racism. Boston was deemed as one of the most racist towns in America, and so it was a very, very big thing when Bill Russell held basketball camps for black children in segregated Boston, which is also a way of goodwill. Goodwill meaning a general willingness to work with or assist a person or organization based on a positive reputation or relationship. And as you can see in this image above, you have former President Barack Obama giving the Presidential Medal of Freedom to Bill Russell, which is the highest civilian award in the U.S. It was given for his lifelong fight against racism. In 2020, shortly after the tragic murder of George Floyd, he wrote an essay for Slam magazine depicting his fight against racism throughout his years. I'm going to dive into Bill Russell's personal life a little bit. Up here we have his daughter Karen Russell and his son Jacob Russell, and that's a picture of him and his wife Rosie Swisher, his college sweetheart Rosie Swisher. And that's his son Buddha and his daughter Karen. Bill Russell has been married 4 times, but he only ever had kids with his college sweetheart, who he divorced in 1973. In the year of 1957, Russell and his wife at the time welcomed their first child, Buddha Russell, into the world, followed by Karen Russell and Jacob Russell. Buddha tragically passed away in 2016 after a long battle with cancer. Karen was born in 1962, and Jacob Russell has his birthday inconclusive. Russell was taught from a young age to stand up for what is right. He was taught that by his father, and he passed that down onto his kids, and his kids passed that down onto their kids. Bill Russell would take to social media to talk about his life and also his opinions on political matters and racial injustice matters. Russell used Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook, and he managed his own account. As you can see here, I have a tweet of him responding to what Trump said. Trump said, "We should be standing up straight and tall, ideally with a salute or a hand on heart. There are other things you can protest, but not our great American flag. No kneeling." Bill Russell responded saying, "Trump, you projected your narrative that taking a knee is disrespectful and un-American. It was never about that. You are decisive and a coward. It takes true courage to stand for what is right and risk your life in the midst of a pandemic." On July 31st, 2022, Bill Russell died peacefully in his sleep, with his wife by his side. He was 88 years old. He is lived on by his daughter, Karen Russell, who is a civil rights activist and a lawyer, and his son, Jacob Russell, who is an author and a poet. Bill Russell's number 6 was retired league-wide shortly after he died in the 2022-2023 season. Every team wore the number 6 on their jersey and had the number 6 on their court. His number was retired because of his legendary defensive plays and his legendary career, and also his legendary stand against racism throughout his life. Here I have my citations. Thank you.